This video is so I have a record of how to do Poser to RPM animation retargeting using Blender and get that into Unreal Engine. So we'll go ahead and do it. I'm in Blender right now. And I built a file, and this is the key to the thing. Is there's a file that I'll put out there in the shared area that's called a master frame one blend, and what that is a file. It looks like one file, but it's actually got two. It's got the RPM character, and it's a skeletal mesh and a special rig. It was based on DJ1, but basically what I've done is I've rotated all the bones so they match exactly with the amateur, or the armature of the amateur, the armature of the RPM character. So I've got this file. Bring it in, and the next thing you do is import a BVH, and so a BVH being a poser animation BVH file, of which I've got lots of them, as you'll see here. So I'm going to bring it in, and let me go over to where I got a bunch of them, not all of them. I've got like thousands of them, and I'm going to do DJ3. I've done DJ1 and do DJ3, but here's tons of them, and I'll be bringing in the ones that make sense for the game. So you select DJ3, you go in here, and you got to bring it in. Their scales are wildly different, so 0.25. So you'll bring it in at that size and say import it. And you'll see it brought it in, and you'll see the first thing you'll notice, it's in a T-pose. And that's what the big problem is. All the animations I have for Poser, or any, 99.9% of all motion capture our PVH files are created with starting with the T-pose. And of course, our character, the RPM character, has got an A pose, and that's what's caused the most amount of problems. So I've brought it in. So now if you notice here, I've got DJ3 here on the right hand side, DJ1, and again the skeletal mesh. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to copy the first frame. The first frame of DJ1 is the poser skeleton in a frame, or an A pose. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy that first frame of the A pose from DJ1 and paste it into the first frame of DJ3, replacing this T pose here. So that's the biggest thing to do here. So I will select first of all the DJ1 armature, and then I'm going to go ahead and get in pose mode. And I'm going to get into the dope sheet here, down here, dope sheet. And if I open up the dope sheet, you'll see I'm in DJ1. Now, one of the things the key in the dope sheet here, there's this little button over here, little arrow that says only show the selected bones, which is good if you're doing your animation, but it's crummy for what I want to do here. So I say unclick that, and it'll show all the animations and all the joints. So in the dope sheet. So I've got that. Now what I want to do is I'm over, and you'll see that the first frame here. Let's kind of zoom in on it. The first frame here has got a pose for every bone, and that's the one that I created by hand. So what I'll do is I will go ahead and select for the DJ1. I'll select this. I clicked on under DJ1. I clicked on the first button, which is a keyframe, and I say copy. And then I go ahead to get the BVH2 over here. So I do this. I'm going to go ahead and DJ3. Now you see DJ3 has now, because I clicked on it over here, it's showing up now in the dope sheet. What I'm going to do is I copied that first frame. I'm going to go down here on the DJ3, select it, and I'm going to say paste. And what it's done is it's moved the you can't really see it, but it's gone ahead and moved the frame 1 from the reference DJ1 A pose over and replace the T pose in DJ3. So now I'm to the point where I can actually retarget it, and this is what was causing me all kinds of problems before. And I'm using Rococo. I've also used something called Simple Retargeter. I've also written my own tried writing my own Python. But the point is, I'll use Rococo because it's easy. So I say the source is DJ3, and just to show you what it well, I'm not going to show you. It's DJ3, and the target's armature. So your armature is what the skeletal mesh is of RPM. So I said move to armature. I said build a bone list, and it goes and builds a bone list. Double check that it's all okay, and it is because it remembers from the last time I did it. And see, the names are all different. The name, so this will convert it to the right-hand side. Here is the names in RPM. Left-hand side is the names inside of the poser animation coming in, and it's already mapped because I've done it one time. So I will go and move this down here so you can see things. The things I want to do here is I want to say I want to do it from the frame 1, because frame 1's a match now. The rest poses don't match at all, but Rococo can go off and use a, whatever frame you're on instead of the reference pose, the rest pose. I say current. I say retarget animation, and what it'll do is it'll do that, and it's gone ahead and done the math associated with converting all the frames in the animation. How many frames are there? There's 150, it appears. So the now I go ahead and say I've got them matched up. So if I want to look, and I'll just go ahead and get over the timeline again and play it, and you'll see them both dancing pretty close. Now it's dancing. So now what I want to do is I want to select the armature. First of all, I want to maybe just to turn it off here. I will I'll unhide both the. So I'm unhide. I hid the actual BVHs. So all I see now is the RPM, and I'll turn the mesh on too, so you see the mesh. There it is. Now if I play it, you're going to see it playing a set of DJ animations. So it's been retargeted. So this is what has to be done to get it to do it. So, and then if I wanted to bring a second one in, all I do is just delete this DJ3, bring in DJ4, bring in DJ5, and walk through these few steps that I just did. So it takes less than 5 minutes to do convert an animation. Now I go over to Unreal Engine. So let's get Unreal Engine. Well, where is it here? Unreal Engine. There it is. And I carry my animations in RPM, and here's all my animations. I got boom under the animations file. I got a ton of them, and these were all from Mixamo. Well, except for the last few I've done. I have a remaps folder, and what I've been doing is setting up this remaps folder. And I'm going to go over first back to Blender. Sorry, I'm going to go back to Blender, and in Blender I have to save this out now as an FBX file. So I'm going to go export FBX, and where do we want to do them? Let's do them into the same folder that I've been doing here, and we'll call this DJ3 .fbx DJ3, and export it. And takes a second, and it exported it. Now I go grab that. I'm going to go grab that export. So if I go to BVA, where did I put them? I put them in. No, not. I put them in here, didn't I? I think so. Yeah. and by type, so I can see the DJ3. I get into Blender, I get into Unreal Engine. Boom, there's Unreal Engine. I get into the file folder, and I just drag in DJ3 in, so I'm importing the FBX, and it's going to come and say, give me some import things. And it says, what do you want to do? Well, one of them I want to do is this normally says, exported time or animated time. Set it to get range, and I've done it here. Say the minimum is 2, and I knew the maximum was 150, but you can put any large number because it'll only import it'll stop at the end frame as long as you have more than what's on the end frame it imports. So I just leave this set high at 10,000. So if I say import, and it takes a second. It's going to import a bunch of files, and it gives you some error messages you ignore. And you see it's imported all kinds of stuff because it's imported. I didn't clean up I could have gone and cleaned up this Blender model and deleted all the things that I didn't want to export. But it's easier just to go in here and delete them out of here. So you delete everything but the one that says anim armature. See the one that says anim armature? You delete everything but that. Boom. Force to delete. So you end up with just those 4 files. You'll end up with 4 files. You end up with the skeletal mesh. You'll end up with the animation, the physics file, and the skeleton. Now, this is very important. Say save all. If you forget that step, this next step won't work. Now it's in, and I can go look at it. If I clicked on this and looked at it, and it takes a sec. Sorry, put it over here, different window. Here's the animation I just brought in. But it's on a skeletal mesh that's gray, and it's also not on the skeleton we want. It's on its own skeleton, this DJ3 skeleton. So I've got to move it over to the actual RPM skeleton inside of the Unreal Engine that I've been using. So I say retarget to another skeleton. I on-click show only compatible skeletons, so I can find my RPM Mixamo skeleton, and it puts it there. And I just click retarget. And you'll notice that it's changed this little gray character into our actual RPM animation. And so this one's done. So then what I do is I grab this and I copy this over. Wait, that's not what I do. I say rename, because that's a ridiculous name. And I call them, I've just been calling it now, DJ3 anim. DJ3 anim. All right. And then I go ahead, I move that over to animations folder. So it's with all the other ones. I move, boing. Then I delete these 3 and bring in the next animation from Blender. Go ahead and repeat the process, rinse and repeat. And if I go and look in here now, if I look down here, you'll find a DJ3. And where is he? DJ3 anim. If I click on here, there it is. So that's how you do it. And I'm going to go convert a whole bunch of them. If I'm not talking, it only takes me a couple of minutes per animation I'm converting. So that's how to do that. And the key to the whole thing was a Blender file that I did with this, to rotate all the joints and get the joints matching exactly and in the right position. And that fiddly stuff took me hours and hours and hours, and some Python programs as well. So that's it.